live and direct from the Golden State. It's intelligent talk media, the Denice Gary Show. Now, here's Denice Gary.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Denice Gary Show. Just as always, thrilled to be with you. In the second segment of this broadcast, I have got an incredible interview with a gentleman who has come from Europe, has come from England, and is now leading the Iranian opposition groups here in America, working very intimately with the FBI and the CIA and Department of Homeland Security to bring to their attention individuals. These are Iranians, these are Iraqis, these are Lebanese, these are Syrians, these are individuals that are working for and with the Islamic Republic of Iran. And that interview will be directly after this first segment. I wanted to begin with some information with respect to President's Day. I thought it was very interesting in looking at this issue that Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, who was born on February 12th, 1809, and of course George Washington, the other president that's celebrated, was born on February 22nd, 1732. But getting back to Abraham Lincoln, of which both these presidents, by the way, I admire, but Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, was a strong Christian, strong Republican, and was absolutely the right man to lead the war, to lead the Civil War against slavery here in the United States. And I thought it was interesting that he secured a majority of the electoral votes, reminded me of President Donald Trump, that Abraham Lincoln, because the nation was so divided, I mean, it was like 50-50. You had all the Democrats in the South that, of course, voted for the Democrat candidate. You even had those Democrats that lived in the North voting for a Democrat. It was the Republican Party, primarily in the North, because the Democrats controlled the South and the Republicans controlled the North, in effect. And those electoral votes, the Electoral College, brought Abraham Lincoln to the presidency of the United States. I just thought that was stunning historical footnote that few people ever talk about. But again, it was that first Republican president that led this country to end slavery. And I think about President Trump and how he continues to, despite the ridiculousness of Democrats and socialists on the left, the president continually speaks to the American family, that all people of all colors, red and yellow, black and white, they're all precious in the sight of God. And of course, according to the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, they're all important. He cares about the entire nation. And I hope that you remember that going forward in 2019. I think it's incredible if you'll go back and look at the transcripts of all the president's speeches since prior to and after becoming president. They have been very unifying speeches that have sought to bring the nation together, and indeed trying to bring about the furtherance and the deepening and the expansion of our Judeo-Christian values. Very important to the United States of America. And so just thought I'd start the program off with that today. Anyway, California officials have warned skiers here in the Golden State to stay home and not go skiing. And why is that? Because I guess the roads are treacherous and people will need chains. Well, you know, people have used chains on their tires for many, many years, driving through the snow. But I thought this particular report that came out by the Daily Mail indicated that this storm here in California was going to dump between 3 and 6 feet of fresh snow, where some ski resorts have reported in the past getting 3 feet. In fact, by Thursday, they already had 3 feet of snow. So officials warned Of course, of the possibility of an avalanche in the Lake Tahoe area where heavy snow and high winds were expected. Chains, of course, are required. Anyway, what I thought of when I was reading this report about telling skiers not to go out and ski, I thought about something that I had heard scientists say for many years, that while the radical leftists have gained the momentum and upper hand in the scientific community by saying there's global warming and global warming, the planet is heating up, and of course it's all doom and gloom. And then I see these reports about these cold weather fronts. Does it occur to anyone on the left that maybe the planet is now moving towards global cooling? After all, isn't that what other scientists and meteorologists who don't sit at their computer and develop computer models to try to predict the weather, isn't that what another group of scientists have said? That the Earth goes in cycles, and there's global warming, and there's global cooling, and there's global warming, and there's global cooling. Anyway, just a thought. I shared out with you last week that, according to the computer models that some of these radical environmentalists had developed, that of course the sea level was going to rise, and we were all going to die in about another decade. Not happening. It's not. They're not right. They may have risen a little bit, but what? A quarter of a half. 0.08 something. It's just not worth talking about. So moving on, one other thing here before we get to our interview after commercial is Javier Becerra. We have to have a recall election. This is a guy, has he ever run for office? I know when Kamala Harris went to Washington, D.C., Javier Becerra was appointed by Moonbeam Jerry Brown. But Javier Becerra's never won an election, has he? Am I correct on that?
Except this last one.
Right. Okay. So Javier was appointed, and then when he ran in 2018, he won. We've got to have a recall election. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start those petitions. Is there somebody out there, I'm working 2 full-time positions. Is there somebody out there that could start a recall election for Javier Becerra? I thought it was interesting. Last Friday, California Governor Gavin Newsom, who wants to spend money like we have money, right? He wants to spend California taxpayer dollars like we actually have some kind of huge surplus, and we can just spend money randomly on granting everybody health care, including illegal aliens, and on it goes. Free abortions for all those teenagers out there that are confused and got themselves pregnant. Hey, yeah, let's just use abortion like one would use, proper
Birth control.
Birth control. I couldn't think of a word. How about just hold your legs together, girls, until you get married? What a concept. Just you don't want to get yourself all tied up over some guy. If a guy really loves you, he'll marry you, and then you can use proper birth control. And if you don't want to have a baby, you don't have to have a baby, but use some discretion and wisdom, girls. Anyway, of course, Gavin Newsom, the California governor, said, California will see you in court. And here's Javier Becerra. Let's go to Javier Becerra and listen to what he has to say. Again, when you listen to him, think, recall, let's recall this man from office. Go ahead and play it.
We should be filing sometime today. It's kind of awkward to say that on President's Day we're going to be suing the President of the United States, but sometimes that's what you have to do.
So the lawsuit is not only coming, it is coming today. What are you asking for in the lawsuit?
Well, we're going to try to halt the president from violating the Constitution, the separation of powers, from stealing money from Americans and states that has been allocated by Congress lawfully. And we're going to try to make sure we keep the president from continuing to play this theater by manipulating the office of the president to do his bidding simply because I think he's trying to essentially send a message to his base, a shrinking base, that he fulfills his promises.
Ladies and gentlemen, Javier Becerra, the AG of California, says the president is violating the Constitution. First lie. According to the Federal Register, you can look it up if you don't believe me, 58 national emergencies have been declared since 1976. So, since 1976, 58 national emergencies have been declared, and 31 have been annually renewed. Violation of the Constitution? Let me see now. 31 have each and every year been renewed and are still in effect, and over 58 have been declared since 1976. Hardly unconstitutional. Second lie, stealing money? Stealing money? The Constitution says that the president's responsibility, first and foremost, above all other responsibilities, is to protect the United States against enemies, both foreign and domestic. And when you listen to the interview in this next segment with an Iranian American who is doing dangerous work with the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the CIA, this is a former attorney at work here in the Golden State and in the United States, working to bring to the attention of the government individuals who have been recruited by Iranian proxies to bring drugs across the border, to bring people across the border in order to make money on drug sales and selling people. It's called human trafficking. Anyway, stealing money? No, I'm sorry, Javier Becerra. The president is not stealing money. And for those of you that say, and he didn't need to declare a national emergency, the president wants to get the wall built faster because it's in the national security interests of the United States. The last and final lie, playing theater. Really? Human trafficking is theater? Getting drugs across the border is playing theater? These are facts that the president has highlighted. Islamists crossing the border, illegal aliens that commit crimes, not all, but some, including the murder of several people here in California alone. I think it's important. Let's listen to Stephen Miller, the political advisor to the President of the United States.
What the president was saying is that like past presidents, he could choose to ignore this crisis, choose to ignore this emergency as others have, but that's not what he's going to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Miller talking about the need to move forward. Tell us what he said, Robert, because it was so short I didn't have a chance to hear it.
Basically, he was just talking about how, the same thing you've been bringing up, is that the president has a right to be able to...
The president has a right to issue a national emergency order, ladies and gentlemen, because it is in our national security interest. Now, let's go to a quick break, and when we come back, I'd like you to listen to an individual that has some really important information to bring to us today. We'll be right back.
I want to tell you about a place I love to go, Frugatti's Italian Restaurant. Very few locations here provide seating outside in front of a fabulous water fountain with an atmosphere that is reminiscent to me of eating outdoors in Venice. This is real Italian food by real Italians. And what makes it even more so is owner Ralph Frugoletti, who nearly a quarter century ago brought a wood fire oven from Milan, Italy to make, like his mother, fresh homemade bread and pizzas. Moreover, Frugatti's Frugatti's restaurant offers you not only the very best in Southern Italian cooking, even importing the finest ingredients for authentic Italian food, including a fitness menu. After all, Ralph has represented the United States and Italy, competing in the Master Championship Games. He knows all the right food for good fitness, so check out the menu. After today's broadcast, run over to Frugatti's Italian Restaurant and Catering at 600 Coffee Road here in Bakersfield. And after a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday service, stop into Frugatti's for a great lunch. I'll see you there, and tell Mr. Ralph Frugaletti that Denice sent you. Salute. Bon appetito.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so thrilled I've got the owner of Scope 365 Fitness here with me today, Craig Jansen, Navy veteran. Craig, tell the audience out there why everybody in town needs to come up over here and join.
Well, Scope 365 is a 24-hour club, so we never close, unlike a lot of other clubs here in town. Additionally, our club is always super clean, and one of the things that you're going to find here is a different environment. We strive to give you a VIP experience here, so we want to get to know you, we want to know your story, we want to know about you and how we can help you succeed and meet all of your fitness goals.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, come on down to Scope 365 Fitness. You're located right here on Brim Hall. Tell us your other locations.
We have another location up in Tehachapi, and then our third location here in town is also located over on Chester and Columbus in the Food Mac Shopping Center.
Thank you so much, Craig. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Denice Gary Show. We have a very important guest with us today. I'm just thrilled to have him on the broadcast. Mr. Maris Kandari is a former attorney now working with his organization, an organization called the Coalition of Iranian Opposition Groups, a coalition of opposition groups here in America to help make, along with the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, America safe again. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the show Sean Maris-Kandari. Sean, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Denice. I'm very grateful and honored to be on your show, and I'm grateful that your listeners are going to listen to this program today.
I am too, and ladies and gentlemen, please, you want to share this broadcast out to everyone you know throughout California and the United States. This is very important, and you will learn also what more you can do to help make America safer. Sean, I want to begin with a report out of the newspaper of record here in the United States, the New York Times. The New York Times reported on February 13th that a Monica Witt, a former exemplary Air Force counterintelligence agent who studied the Persian language, carried out covert missions in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. Again, this is a former Air Force counterintelligence agent, sold out to the Iranians. She's believed to be in Iran, but according to the FBI, she is under indictment by the Justice Department. There was another article that came out last month in January talking about two individuals, one living in the Orange County area, one living in the Los Angeles area, working in a restaurant in Santa Monica, California, a restaurant called Daria, a Persian restaurant. These individuals, and again, we're given very little information. This was reported out in the Los Angeles Times. I don't know how many other individuals were involved, but it mentions that at least 2 arrests of these Iranians that have been living here in the United States for 20 years. This one particular individual is 59 years old. His name is Gurbani. He's worked at this restaurant for 20 years. He has been involved in spying on the United States. When FBI operatives arrested him, they found target lists of individuals targeted for death also there were dossiers with places, not just people, but places that were targeted for bombings. Can you speak to what appears to be several more arrests here in the United States within the last 14 months?
Yes. First of all, I can tell you, hand on heart, we were the ones who gave Ghorban's name and gave a dossier. Our organization has given some 300 names so far. It's not just names. We do profiles on them. We put packages together and work with the FBI and hand them in. And I can tell you there's been about 200 arrests over the past couple of years that we are aware of the 300 or so names we've given him. Just a short while ago, I had a meeting with the FBI, and one of the things they said was that before we got involved with your organization, we had no idea this was going on right underneath our noses. Well, we can thank the previous administration on that, because they had pretty much shut down all activities against Iran, which basically Obama agreed to as part of the nuclear deal. You should not be surprised. We handed over a video, a clandestine video of the Revolutionary Guard meetings 2 years ago, where the head guy in the Revolutionary Guard dealing in that meeting said, we have over 6,000 cells in America, and they're not just Iranian born, they're Iraqi, Syrian, Mexican, Venezuelan. They have been infiltrating America for many, many, many years. I would say for 30 years.
Let me stop you right there for just a moment. Let's unpack what you've just said. So first of all, I want to share with my audience that I can confirm that Iran has been busy here in the United States. In fact, during the Ronald Reagan administration, he created the Office of Counterterrorism there in Washington, D.C. because of the tremendous infrastructure by Iranian terrorist cells here in the United States that were considered to be the best organized. Truly the best organized, and in terms of recruiting Americans, heavily involved in the recruitment of Americans. So when you say that your organization, the Coalition of Iranian Opposition Groups, was involved in these 200 arrests, were these arrests of Iranian Americans, or did they include individuals, Islamists from, as you just mentioned, countries like Iraq?
They included Lebanese, Iraqis, Iranians.
Okay.
We have provided lists of some Americans that we know who have been collaborating with them.
Have they been here for many years?
Excuse me?
Have they been here for many years, or are they newcomers?
Some of them have.
Okay.
Let me tell you the modus operandi, and we have to go back a little bit in history. In 1980, just after the revolution, the Iranian government hired an African American and sent him to the house of an opposition leader in Washington, D.C., called Mr. Tabatabai. He dressed as a postman, went and knocked on his door, and a guest opened up the door, and he said, no, I need to see Mr. Tabatabai to sign for the parcel. Mr. Tabatabai came forward, he pulled out a pistol and shot him and killed him and ran away. He then moved to Iran, and he gave himself the name Salahuddin, and he has been living in Iran ever since. And ironically, his name recently came up because, you know, the FBI agent, Bob Levinson, who has disappeared for many, many years,
yes,
in contact with the family lawyer and discussing issues as well. The person who set up Bob Levinson was Salahuddin. I met with him in Kish Island in the Persian Gulf and had him arrested. Salahuddin, just before Obama left office, sent a letter to President Obama and said, if you give me amnesty, I want to come back to America. And Obama said no. But the moral of this is that since 1980, these people have been involved in terrorism acts in America. And the word terrorism is not like the old terrorists. It is when I sit down and talk with the FBI and CIA, and I said, look, the old terrorist was the guys who dressed up in army fatigues and had long beards, and they didn't bathe for 3 months and lived in caves. Today, they're doctors, lawyers, they are estate agents, they are teachers, professors at university.
They're restaurant workers.
Excuse me?
They're people that work in our restaurants in Santa Monica and Orange County.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, we handed this guy over on a silver platter. And I said, that's what you got to look for. You got to open your eyes and step out the most, because those people don't exist. And what these people did in Iran was very clever. They would take a group of people, especially women, and they would put them in prison or pretend to, take photographs of them, and then these guys would be released on furlough from prison. They would immediately come to America and seek political asylum and say, here are my pictures in prison, in Evin prison, the notorious prison. I was a political prisoner because I wanted democracy or freedom for women or whatever. And America, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, would immediately give them green cards. But those people are now citizens, they got married, they got kids, but they're still cells. And anytime they're called upon, they do what they're told to do.
You know, that's incredible, and that certainly confirms everything that I knew and I understood when I had top secret clearances and worked for the government. And of course, it also confirms other reports from individuals that I've spoken to. Ladies and gentlemen, having talked to a former Israeli officer from the Israeli Defense Forces here in the United States, he also has, confirms everything that Sean has just said. Sean, let's talk about some parallels. I was reading a report by the Middle East Forum on the work of Iran in Venezuela, as well as the work of Iran in Syria. And we see a lot of parallels in terms of the deepening and the expanding work of Iran in Syria. And we see it here in the Western Hemisphere in places like Venezuela, in places like Mexico, in other countries in South and Central America. We see the recruitment going on. We understand that Iran has been developing economic agreements, military agreements with governments here in the Western Hemisphere that are anti-American, anti-U.S. Can you speak to that for just a moment, Sean?
Of course. Let's divide it up a bit.
Okay.
Let's start with Venezuela.
All right.
We reported 2 years ago about a missile factory that is created right next to the Caracas airport in Venezuela.
Okay, a military factory next to the Caracas airport?
That's correct.
Is that something?
And we handed them over. And the influence of Iran in Venezuela was amazing. And if you remember, when Hugo Chavez was alive, President Ahmadinejad was there all the time, and vice versa. About 4 months ago, we got intelligence that they had built for themselves 26,000 condominiums in Venezuela. They created a small city, so if the regime collapses in Iran, that's their getaway. That's where they can fly to, and they know the government would let them in. They're learning from the Shah of Iran. When he escaped out of Iran, no country would take him. Even Carter betrayed him. In the end, he went to Egypt. That's where he died. But so they have their escape hatches in Venezuela. They've done a lot of business with them. Venezuela also helps them with their drugs. You got to understand something. President Trump is so right about this war, but unfortunately, it's not just with illegal immigrants coming in. It is to do with the drugs that are coming into this country, brought in by Iran. Iran hires Mexicans and Colombians and Venezuelans to bring in drugs. They sell the drugs here and use that funding for terrorism in this country and other countries. Specifically, they send a lot to Lebanon for Hezbollah.
Okay, let's just, wow. Yeah, that's really important. So you're telling the American people today that Iran hires Colombians, Venezuelans, and Mexicans and others to bring the drugs into the United States. And when those drugs are sold, that money helps support Islamic terrorism. We've always known that, but you're the first person that actually states it out loud. I mean, I've talked about it on my show, but thank you so much for having the guts to say that out loud. I mean, I haven't, I listen to the guests on Fox News, on CNN, on MSNBC. Nobody comes right out and makes clear to people that when illegals come across the border, and again, they could be Mexicans, they could be from Central American countries, South American countries. Iran hires these people and that money goes to terrorism. They're also recruiting those individuals, correct?
Oh yeah, let me explain to you. We have had in the last year very successful arrests in Los Angeles and Orange County of some of these people. From our information, there's been major arrests and confiscation of drugs and money, billions of dollars of money, and hundreds of kilos of cocaine. And this has come from our information that we have handed over. So I can emphatically say, yep, that's what they're doing, and yep, we've been arresting them. So if anybody says no, come and sit down with me and we'll go through it. I'll take you to the buildings where they were raided at. So this is what they do. One of the other things, this caravan of people coming to America,
Caravans, yes.
Notified the authorities 4 months before they even started. And this was another propaganda machine by the Iranian government in order to attack Trump, and the Democrats keep on falling into that trap. And they use it to attack Trump. And this war, it won't stop everybody, but it will help. However, what a lot of these people don't know is these families that come over, a lot of them, the husband is Iranian, and they go and pay money to a woman with a child, and they come over as a family. And the husband is IRGC, Revolutionary Guard.
Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And what they do is they go to Mexico, they go to Ecuador, they go to Venezuela, and they're trained. They teach them to speak Spanish, even though basic. They pay a woman to pretend to be their wife and come with 2 kids. And then they have sympathy at the border. And that's another thing that we reported on. That's what they do. What they're doing now is bringing a lot of the Syrians, a lot of the Syrian families that are coming over are not just Syrians. They are IRGC men stuck in with a woman and a child. And they bring them to Europe or they bring them to America and they say, these are refugees. No, they're not. No, they are not. A lot of them are. Some are, but many are not. And literally, I can tell you, 6 weeks ago, we gave a report of 3,100 IRGC members were flown to Ecuador. And we notified the authorities that they are going to be applying out of the United States Embassy in Ecuador to come here. Lo and behold, the first week there was 354 applications. Every single one of them were refused because of our information.
Now, when you report this, are you reporting it to the Department of Homeland Security? When you say we make these arrests, is this Department of Homeland Security, FBI? Who's making these arrests, and who are you talking to?
Well, the FBI is. I got to tell you, they're doing a great job. I mean, you have to understand, under Obama administration, as part of the nuclear deal, a lot of these anti-Iranian activities by the Feds, the NSA, the CIA were stopped or reduced dramatically. I had a meeting with the FBI just a few weeks ago, and one of them said to me, I have to be honest with you, prior to your organization being involved with us, we didn't know what these people were doing. We had no idea they were doing this stuff right underneath our noses. So, we have not just done
Right, right.
They're going to do economic terrorism. They're going to create fires. They're going to do everything they can. As another example, 2 years before Obama left office, they caught that Iranian IRGC guy planting a bomb in Washington, D.C. in a restaurant to blow up the ambassador of Saudi Arabia, who later became the foreign minister until a few months ago. And what did Obama do? Nothing. They caught the guy who was going to blow up a restaurant where there was a lot of congressmen and senators go there. And that was under the order of the Iranian government. And Obama still went ahead and made a deal with this terrorist organization.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, I showed a clip last week on my broadcast. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, and you know, it shows Iranians out in the streets inside the Islamic Republic of Iran shouting "Death to America, death to Israel" during the Obama administration, who bent over backwards to try to please the Iranian leadership. Of course, it hasn't changed under the Trump administration. Let me ask you something, Sean. I also showed some clips from this month, from February. It showed Iranian children at revolution anniversary rallies shouting "Death to America." It showed individuals inside, imams inside their mosques preaching hate. The president, during his State of the Union message, talked about how his administration acted decisively to confront Iran, the world's leading sponsor of terrorism. Do you believe President Trump was absolutely correct in withdrawing from the nuclear deal and initiating and instigating really tough sanctions on the Iranian regime? Your thoughts, Sean?
Absolutely. Look, this regime, every country knows. They lie about everything. If you can't be a murderer and you cannot be a liar, there's no room for you in the Iranian government. They lie about everything. They haven't kept their word about anything. They rape people, they murder. I mean, it's probably one of the worst regimes in the history of mankind. The news don't bother telling the Americans anything about what's really going on. I would say over 95% of the population of Iran don't want this regime. They're held to ransom. You know, people come out on these demonstrations and shout "Death to America." A lot of them are just government employees, and if they don't go and they're not seen, they'll get fired and they won't get their salaries. They're all starving. Obama thought he could control this animal called the Iranian regime. You can't. And he was very naive about it. And he wanted to create this legacy for himself. I remember seeing a cartoon picture of President Carter handing a trophy to President Obama. And on the trophy, it said, "Worst American president of all time." And the caption says, it's Carter saying to Obama, "This used to belong to me, now it belongs to you." And that's absolutely correct. President Trump is 100% correct. And it couldn't have come soon enough. And the only way that you control this regime is to take it out. The people want it out. The Middle East want them out. The Europeans don't, because they are paying billions and billions and billions of dollars of oil contracts to the Europeans. As Newt Gingrich said about 6-7 months ago, he said the Europeans have this human rights court and they think they're high and mighty. But when it comes to Iran, they ignore all issues of human rights. They have the worst record in the world. They hang kids on allegations of being gay. They murder pregnant women. And Trump understands that. Obama didn't care. He only cared about himself. And since he gave that money to Iran, the amount of IRGC personnel in America went skyrocketing. And he not only allowed them in, but he gave them the money as well. And then you wonder why our security in this country is in a shambles. Because to add insult to injury, he passed all these laws to saying ignore the Iranians. So when I hear from a senior FBI agent that they've been doing all of this stuff under our nose, all this terrorism and illegal activities from insurance fraud to selling drugs and human trafficking, and nobody knew about it, well, I think everybody should write a thank you letter to President Obama.
Thank you so much, Sean. Let me ask you, do you have 5 more minutes?
I have as much time as you like.
Okay, thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate that. Vice President Mike Pence was at the Peace and Security Summit in Warsaw, Poland, last Wednesday and Thursday, the 13th and the 14th. And he really raked the European Union leaders over the coals and said that the European Union had, quote, led the effort to create mechanisms to break up America's sanctions against Iran's murderous revolutionary regime. I thought that was pretty tough language by the vice president. He said, he went on to say it was ill-advised that the Europeans would strengthen Iran, because by strengthening Iran, they weaken Europe and they create greater distance between Europe and the United States. So is it all about money, Sean? Is this all about oil and other economic trade deals between European countries and Iran?
Yes, and you have, let's just go into that for a second.
All right.
The conduct of Germany, France, and the United Kingdom is deplorable. They have forgotten the sacrifices made by brave American soldiers and airmen and sailors in World War I and World War II, especially the ones who gave up their lives to allow Europe to be free, or else they'll all be speaking German right now.
Right.
They've forgotten all of that.
Right.
They've forgotten America paying for NATO all these years, and their economies are better, their lives are better because of America. And you have the deplorable conduct of the French foreign minister absolutely insulting President Trump. How dare you? How dare you insult our president? Your people are despicable. You people had terrorist attack 3 years ago on Bastille Day in Nice. A French Moroccan Muslim drove a truck and killed over 100 people on Playa de l'Anglaise in Nice, south of France.
Right.
They're everywhere.
Yes.
And you people let them in. You don't care. For an oil contract, the Iranian government has done so much killing of ordinary people, or Iranian opposition members in France, in Germany, in Greece, in England. They've killed American servicemen there, and they still support them because the oil contracts give them jobs. And that's what's more important for them. And Vice President Pence is correct. You know, America should pull the plug on them, tell them to get lost. Because I lived in Europe, I grew up in Europe. They are very envious of America. And I think Americans should boycott Europe. Don't go to these countries for holidays anymore. Don't spend your money there until they learn to respect our country. And
Excellent.
It's appalling that what they do just for money.
You said something about a conversation when we spoke on the phone yesterday. You said something about car manufacturers. They're in France. What?
One of our people from our coalition had gone to France about a month ago with General Paul Valéry, who's been on your show before.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they met with senior government officials in France, and we're talking about regime change and that, you know, you can't be supporting this regime. And their answer was, well, we have 200,000 Peugeot French cars that we can't sell because of the sanctions, and America is crippling our back. And our people said, well, you know, they're killing our people. They're destroying the country. They've taken it back 1,000 years. And he said, well, no, we're just interested in selling our cars. We're not interested in human rights or anything else. And that was the bottom line of it.
I suggest the French find other markets to sell their Peugeot cars, which aren't very good to begin with. Let's move on. I know we've got to cut two more things. The Iranian foreign minister said the chances of war with Israel are great. I just listened to an interview last night with a former general from the United States Army, Jack Keane. He also made the point that there may be war with Israel because of Iranian proxies, that Iranian missiles in Lebanon, Iranian missiles in Syria, Iranian missiles in Hamas, that's the Islamic resistance movement, their control south of Israel. The fact that Iran has its proxy armies, whether it's the IRGC forces, the Hezbollah, Hamas, and other groups that it aids and abets. There's some serious concern by the Israeli government, particularly by the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's defense ministry, that Iran will continually attack Israel through its proxies. What do you say, Sean?
Well, they've been doing that for years. This is nothing new.
True, but it seems to have increased.
Iran would never attack Israel. Israel would annihilate this regime within 10 days. Saddam Hussein tried the same tactic. He fired Scud missiles into Tel Aviv and different cities in order to get the Arab nations riled up.
Right.
And you know, this was a man who was drunk, who did drugs, who raped women, killed people, and so did his children. I mean, his children were some of the worst criminals in the history of mankind.
Yes.
And then when it came to their livelihood being threatened, they immediately became Muslims and tried to rally all the Muslims, 1 billion Muslims around the world against Israel, and it didn't work. Javad Zarif is a despicable crook. He studied in America. He went to university in Colorado. His children live in New York, and he says death to America. Well, Mr. Zarif, why don't you get your monkey children out of America, and why don't you take them and put them on the front lines of the war instead of forcing innocent people to go there and die for your cause? Your father was a mullah. Even though you're not wearing a cleric's cloak, you act like one. And you and your family have stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from the Iranian people. You bought yourself a building in New York and your children live there. We know all about you. And the day that the regime falls, Mr. Zarif, Mr. Foreign Minister, we will prosecute you because you are a murderer. So you want to start another war so that you can keep your money? Well, it's not going to happen. The Israeli people are brave people who are not intimidated by idiots like Zarif. And I think that good Muslims around the world should know this, and they're not going to fall for this garbage.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you, Denice.
I really appreciate your time. I hope you have a blessed and wonderful evening. Did you want to tell the audience about your website?
Yes, our website is called Only and then number one Iran, onlyoneIran.com. We're not just in America. We are the first organization that got all the minority groups in Iran together, which adds up to more than 73% of the population. We've been working with nations. We are focused on removing this regime, hunting them down, prosecuting them. In one conversation I had here with the government, I said, it will take America 100 years to find these people. But if we get Iran, we can go and find them in Iran through our networks and tell you who they are and just send them back to us to Iran. We'll prosecute these people. We need to make the world safe again. These people have been holding the world hostage. And all of this started from President Carter. And he still refuses to accept the blunder that he made in the Middle East that has caused the deaths of millions and millions and millions of innocent people. And Obama tried to follow the same steps. The only president since the revolution, since 40 years ago, has outright said these people are criminals and we know who they are, is President Trump. And we hope he'll get reelected. And mark my words, mark these words, Denice, it's going to come out that the Iranian regime is using proxies to fund Democrats in order to help Trump get thrown out of office.
Absolutely.
I guarantee you that's going to come out because I've done the report on it, and we are working hard to find them and give them to the authorities. So let's see if Mr. Mueller will go after them as well.
Let's see. I doubt it, but I want to thank you for making that point, Sean. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, Islamists across the United States, many of them funded by Iran and other nation states, are working with the Democrats to try to take down President Trump. We know that it's been going on for several years and it needs to stop. Sean, have a blessed evening. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Let's get you back on the show as soon as you're ready and able to share some more information.
Thank you very much, and I thank your listeners. May they have a wonderful evening. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Trump has correctly stated that economic security is national security. And in the Tehachapi Mountains of Kern County resides a United States defense contractor, Anates Products. Here is the Silicon Valley of the aerospace industry, right here in East Kern. Anates Products is a forward-leaning manufacturer and distributor of hardware sold to major defense and aerospace companies. We're talking about Boeing, Lockheed Martin, United Technologies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon General Electric, and on the list goes, as well as to every United States ally worldwide, including Israel, America's most important strategic ally in the Middle East. And for everything that flies, Anates Products is providing the parts. And with me today is the president of Anates Products, Scott Baker. Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
Scott, tell us why you believe this corner of Kern County is the hub of the aerospace industry.
Well, this portion of Southern California here out in the Antelope Valley, it contains, some of the most cutting-edge technology going on in aviation today. We have some of the UCAS programs with unmanned technologies going on. We have Edwards Air Force Base out here who's doing continual testing in their area. We have the Naval Weapons Station up there at China Lake doing some fantastic cutting-edge stuff, cruise missile technology, and those things are going on. We have Scale Composites locally doing a lot of composite technology, which is new. We have SpaceX, which is a private one a private entity putting things into space now. This area is the growth center for aviation's future, and this is the area I think that as a nation we need to be concentrating some of our effort and taking this technology. And as we all know, with the space program from Apollo years ago, out of these technologies, we the private sector are going to reap some of the benefits of that.
Thank you, Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Baker, president of Anates Products. Anates Products, located in the beautiful mountains of Tehachapi, California, in eastern Kern County, is home to some of the most innovative and specialized technologies in the world, including those at the U.S. Naval Air Warfare Center, Weapons Division at China Lake, Edwards Air Force Base, as well as Strata Launch, launching satellites capable of delivering multiple orbits in a single flight to space. And it is Anates Products that has provided the manufactured devices. And the president, Scott Baker of Anates Products, Marine Corps veteran, reactivated on 9/11 to monitor threats to the homeland, is carrying on a tradition of providing for the security of the United States by manufacturing every kind of fastener on anything that flies, as well as providing a full testing destructive laboratory. Contact Anates Products, now in business for 30 years, at 661-822-6873. Located at 1314 Goodrich Drive in Tehachapi for your manufacturing and testing needs today.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we end the broadcast today, what a fabulously interesting interview I thought that was, and I wanted to suggest, he keeps pointing to my microphone. Okay, can you hear me now? Anyway, I just thought that was a tremendous interview, and I really appreciate Sean coming on the broadcast and sharing all that information out. Please share this broadcast up and down the state and across the United States. As we conclude today's broadcast, I want to remind everybody that here in Kern County, it's Safely Surrender Baby Awareness Month. And if you are someone, or you know someone, probably if you're listening to this broadcast, you're probably not someone that's going to surrender their infant child, but you may know of individuals or an individual who probably should. And so again, let's remind mothers who are maybe prone to child abuse, who would be possibly neglectful due to drugs and alcohol, that would neglect their infants or children. Let's remind them that without any questions, no questions asked, they can take their baby to a fire department, to the police station. It's my understanding, the emergency room here in Bakersville, any emergency room at any hospital, just say, I'm leaving my baby here. Again, try to do it. It needs to be done, I understand, within 72 hours. And parents have at least 14 days to claim his or her infant if they've surrendered their baby to the county. But please, let people know that if they carry their baby to term, which we celebrate, there are lots of good people that would love to adopt, especially a newborn. So let's encourage people that really can't handle it to surrender their infants. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the Denice Gary Show. We so appreciate you. It's just a thrill to provide what I believe is really important information. If you see or suspect anything that seems strange to you that might have anything to do with Islamic terrorism, please, you need to call your local FBI office or their 1-800 number. Thank you again for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow, Tuesday, on the Denice Gary Show. This is Denice, signing off.
Thank you for listening to the Denice Gary Show. Intelligent talk media.